Welcome to the Wednesday, December 18th edition of the Saints Insider Podcast. I'm Luke Johnson, filling in as a host today for Zach Ewing, who is, doing Christmas stuff with his family. We've got Rod Walker here joining me, along with Matthew Paris and Jeff Duncan. Norman Bell is our producer. Saints are off today because they play Monday night in Green Bay this week, but we unfortunately have to work and keep you guys informed with what's going on. Guys, happy holiday season to you all.
Long week ahead, man. Y'all gonna make it till Monday?
Are you looking forward to not going to Green Bay in
Yes, very much
late
so.
December?
Very
I know
much so.
Rod
Yeah,
is.
you have to ask me that.
I'm looking forward to it.
I'm looking forward to it too. Matt and I, though, are Midwest guys originally, so we can take it. I know Rod cannot take it as a Mississippi guy, and well, Dunk, you just can't take anything.
I've been there so many times, froze my tail off. I have no desire.
You have no tail anymore?
no desire to go back.
Did I see like snow flurries in the forecast? Or like snow? Did y'all look at the forecast?
A little bit on Monday,
Yeah,
apparently.
a little bit of snow in the forecast. We can all hope. It'll be a white Christmas Eve for Matt and I, maybe.
I drove through City Park yesterday, and they were blasting fake snow, so for celebration on the Oaks.
All right. Okay, so guys, obviously the big topic at hand right now is the Saints quarterback position. Feels like we've been talking about this for about 3 years now. Yet again, Saints are in a position where they don't know who's going to be starting at quarterback on Monday. We all have a pretty good idea of it, but we don't know. Everything's in flux right now. Derek Carr dealing with a left hand fracture and a concussion, missed last week's game. Probably going to miss this next one too. We'll talk a little bit about that. We'll talk about the two guys who are vying to fill in for him. I think one of them, probably after last week's game, is way more likely to be the starter this week against Green Bay than the other. So we'll get into all of that. First, we're going to take a quick break for a word from our sponsor, and we'll be back after that.
Nice bike.
Thanks. Can I get it back before Saturday?
That might be tough.
Whoa. Is it just you?
For now, let's take a look.
Can you reach that? How about?
There's no better place to parlay than Caesars Sportsbook. Parlay Builder gives you all the game day action from all across the league. Multiple games, legs, and props, all in one spot. It's so quick and easy, you can keep your focus on the games and your nachos. Or if you're focusing on one game, remember, you can place your same game parlays live during the action. Caesars Sportsbook, the only sportsbook app with Caesars rewards.
Okay, welcome back. Guys, big news came out yesterday. It's a report from Ian Rappaport over at NFL Network that Derek Carr is likely done for the season. His hand fracture is what fractured in two places, right? And there's a likely chance that it's not going to be good enough to where he's cleared for contact before the end of the season. So, I guess Jeff, I'll just kind of start with you on this. Was this surprising to you at all? Even though Darren Rizzi has kind of been adamant that he believes it's not a reach, that Carr would be ready at some point, that he's been kind of holding out hope that Carr would have even been ready last week or maybe ready this week. Is it a surprise to hear this report that Derek's probably likely done?
Well, I mean, no, because I think the initial report sounded like he was going to be done for the year when Ian initially reported it. I think if the Saints were in a better position, maybe in contention for a playoff berth or something, that they may actually work to get him on the field. To me, that makes sense. But right now, I don't see any reason for them to use him other than what they're doing right now, which I think is subterfuge to try and create a little advantage in the week leading up to it. I do think it's interesting that he's being ruled out on a non-throwing injury. I would like, to hear what a medical expert says about that, if they could somehow protect that and let him play. But, that's the only thing that's somewhat surprising, that he couldn't play with that injury when we've seen some other guys play with something similar.
All right, a quick reminder, Saints Insider is sponsored by Bank Plus. Their banking decisions are actually made here in New Orleans by local bankers who know the community and take the time to know you. From small business to big business, home loans to bank anywhere technology, Bank Plus is here for New Orleans. Learn more at bankplus.net. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. Rod, I kind of wanted to get your take on that. Like, Derek, likely done for the season, but like, let's say there's a chance that next week, like this report is not completely accurate. The Saints have been holding out hope, and they're like, yeah, he's going to be good to go against the Raiders next week. Should they play Derek Carr?
I know that Derek Carr has probably had that Raiders game circled on his calendar for a long time, but to me, I mean, I'm like Jeff. I mean, at this point in the season, I mean, just what's the point? I mean, you want to see what Spencer Rattler can do, and I'm assuming he'll be the starter, but give him some more reps, and that he has three more games he could start, and I think that would be beneficial to this team long term. So I don't really see the point of Derek Carr playing unless he just really wants to play the Raiders and Rizzy wants to grant him that wish. But I just don't really see what you're getting out of it.
Yeah, I mean, Matt, as things stand right now, the Saints have the number 10 pick in the draft. They have, I think, still an uncertain future at quarterback, even though I think Carr has played pretty well this year when he's been in the lineup. So, like, if you were the Saints decision makers here, how would you play this? Just operating under the assumption that Carr could potentially return this year.
Well, in this scenario, am I Mickey Loomis or am I Darren Rizzi?
Yeah, that's the important distinction to make, right? If you're Darren Rizzi, you absolutely want all the best players you can have in the lineup.
Right. I mean, his job might depend on how he produces over these last few games. Now, would his argument for being coach be greater if he is able to win with Spencer Rattler? Maybe, but I don't know. I don't think there's anything wrong with playing your best players even if they're healthy and you're out of it. I mean, I get it. You want the better draft pick. If it's week 18 and he's ready to go, but if he's ready by week 17 against the Raiders, I would bring him back. I mean, I don't. You're going to beat the Raiders anyway. So, I think Spencer Rattler can beat them. Maybe Jake Haener could even beat that. They're bad. I mean, Saints have lost to bad teams before, but that's a matchup I'm not sweating about, and I don't. I think I would rather see what Derek looks like and maybe try and, if he plays well again the last few games, he's already put up solid tape. Maybe that sparks some interest in other teams trading for them, because, guys, if you look around the league and all the teams that need quarterbacks, the wheel's going to stop. The music's going to stop, and someone's going to be left without a quality quarterback. And so maybe that causes someone to want to trade for Derek Carr. So I don't think it'd be the worst thing in the world to play him again. But if he can't, that's what it is. But I'm interested to see what Darren Rizzi's response to this is, because he's been pretty steadfast that Carr has a shot to return this season. And this report this week really felt like Ian Rappaport was doubling down on his initial information rather than something new.
So y'all saying the Carr he should play if he's 100%, or just if they fixing his hand where he's good enough to go?
If he's able to play, and I think this is the reason why I think this discussion is valid is because you're talking about a lot of interesting motivations here.
Yeah.
Rizzi is motivated to keep the job. He wants to win. I think the guys on the team want to win. I don't necessarily think the front office wants to lose. Right? I don't think this is a normal, sort of end of the year tank thing, because I don't know if those guys are guaranteed to come back either. I know what the situation is with Mickey. I know Mickey doesn't want to leave, but I mean, there might be significant changes here, and I don't know. Do these guys want to just play out the string, improve the draft stock, and then maybe just hand that off to somebody else? I don't know if that's
well. And I think there's also another factor we're not considering, and that is Derek Carr probably wants to play for a number of reasons. We don't know. He may have some incentives built into his contract that might, be worthwhile to achieve. And then more importantly, I think, is something that Drew Brees used to tell me. Drew Brees once played for Bill Parcells. And I'm kidding. But Brees said, I asked him once, why he never took a play off in practice, why he never took, a game off. And he said, because of what happened to him in San Diego, that he never wanted to give someone a chance to Wally Pipp him. And I could see Carr wanting to get back out there because if Spencer Rattler starts having success, it could be writing on the wall for him. I don't think we should underestimate that factor at all.
That's a good segue to our next topic here. Spencer Rattler. Look, he had the 3 starts earlier this year while Derek Carr missed time with an oblique injury. Didn't go so hot for him. Really kind of terrible situation that he was dropped into, really against 3 really good defenses, and he was missing a bunch of offensive playmakers because of injury. Did not get the start last week, came in the second half, and while he didn't really light it up numbers-wise, I think pretty clear dividing line between him and Jake Haener as far as performance goes. And he showed off some of the traits that a lot of us were excited about coming into the year, even if he was a little raw. So I'll just leave this open-ended, and we'll start with you, Rod. What were your kind of big picture takeaways after watching that second half performance last week against a pretty good Commanders team?
I thought, well, first of all, I mean, he definitely separated himself. I mean, we can kind of put that conversation to bed, I think, about who the number 2 quarterback is. I thought he played really well during the last 2 minutes of the game. I mean, he really, you look at the difference in his numbers, like the first part of the first half into those last 2 minutes. I mean, it was a really big difference on that too. But I mean, he came in and did kind of what you want to see him do. A big improvement from what we saw when he started early in the season, I felt like, and that's kind of what he needed to do.
Matt?
I was really impressed with the arm. That 39-yard pass to MVS was just right on the money. That really got them going. That was kind of what started to change the game for New Orleans. Still concerned about the accuracy. When we were watching, I asked you at one point, hey, who has the higher completion percentage, Haener or Rattler? And at the time, it was Haener who
completed 40% of his passes.
And so he still finished under 50%. That's not great. I don't think that's sustainable in terms of him trying to build the case that he's a long-term starter in the league. But I don't know how you can watch that game and not be impressed by they were down 17 points, and they almost won the game if Juwan Johnson would have caught the 2-point conversion. So I was really impressed by that. I just think he has some growth that he still needs to show before I'm convinced that he can even be a starter in this league, let alone the long-term answer.
Yeah, I have to say, after I watched the replay, I came away less impressed than I was when I watched it live.
Right.
When you watch it again, the long throw to MVS obviously was incredible, but it almost got intercepted. Like, it was an incredible throw, but it was one of those ones like if he throws that 10 times, I don't know if he completes it 10 times, anywhere close to that. But after watching it again, the thing I was most impressed with him was some of the things, the traits we talked about. He kind of made a few plays happen with his mobility, especially the little dump off to Foster Moreau. That was a sneaky big play. I mean, he was getting ready to get sacked, and he made something out of nothing and found a player. I thought he did that down near the goal line, too, in the 2-minute drill where he went underneath to Foster Moreau on that was a big play. It was 4th down. So those plays impressed me with his ability to show a little patience and find an answer in the chaos, which Haener did not show. I mean, Haener, things were breaking down all around him, and he struggled. Now, having said that, he was aided by a lot of penalties, and really, I came away thinking I've got to see more. And now if he does this at Green Bay, and that's why I kind of agree with Rod, let's see more. I mean, one half of a body of work where I felt like the Commanders were just, I don't know what your team was doing. I mean, they were just awful that second half. I mean, they don't beat anybody in the league that's any good at all with that kind of performance. So I need to see more, but certainly there's some intrigue there that wasn't there before this weekend.
So I think the way I would look at that, and I agree with you, right? There was that pass he threw right to Frankie Louvu.
Right. If he gets that picked off,
right.
What's the
game's
narrative?
over. Right. But I think that there are some things there that you can live with and you can improve with more reps, more time on task, all that stuff. Better offensive weapons. He's still out there. MVS, who's had a very nice season, it's still basically their only viable NFL receiver at this point. Like a really true, can count on be your number 3 wideout. I think he showed me flashes that are really intriguing, and I think that's worth a much longer look. I don't think you go out there ever expecting a 5th round rookie to look polished, right? So I saw the glimpses that I needed to see, and you can trust and hope that that's going to be a little bit better. It's way too early, like Matt said, to say he can be a starting NFL quarterback, but there's definitely enough there where you're like, okay, we have something in this player, something that can help this organization in some way, shape, or form down the road.
Yeah. I was like, you can't just dismiss his first 3 starts, though. I mean,
You can't.
Right. Yeah. And I think it's easy to play quarterback when you're coming in trailing 17-0. I think it's.
I think Dan Quinn say something like that.
Yeah. Though I will say I was more impressed with how he handled pressure this time around in terms of, if you looked at New Orleans' most sacks given up in the season, that was all his 3 games.
14 sacks and 3 starts.
And that was the biggest difference between the first half and the second half is Haener was getting pinned back left and right. And I just thought Rattler managed the blitz a little bit better, got the ball out, used his legs. Like, he seemed a lot more comfortable even when, those pockets weren't clean at all.
He was more decisive, and I think that was what he didn't do in those first 3 games. So that's a step in the right direction. Got the ball out. That ball he threw down near his own goal line to Foster Moreau, I think it was, where he just got – they came after him, and he got it out quick. That was an impressive decision to get that thing out because they obviously just said, we're coming after this young guy and see what he's made of. And I thought he responded well in that regard. Now, let's see if he does start this week, how he performs. I really think he was kind of playing with house money there, down 17-0. Let's just see what could go wrong. I just saw my guy.
Right.
There's something to be said about that. It's kind of like you come into the game as the backup kicker after the other guys missed 3 in a row. I mean, so let's see how he responds. I think that's important. This is an important game for him if he does start.
Yeah. After his first start, I think a lot of us were feeling optimism. After that 27-point second quarter against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, saying, "Okay, there's something here," and then he really regressed the next 2 games. So if he gets the chance to start this week, which I think we are all assuming is going to be the case. Let's see what he does with the team game planning around him, with the offensive line healthy in front of him, with a little bit more time with some of these receivers, Kendra Miller back in the lineup, all those things. Let's see if we can carry that second half over into a full start.
Good defense is going against.
Good defense. Yeah. All right, on the flip side of things, we're going to talk about Jake Haener. Look, I think we were all excited to see what he could do last week. Obviously, not up to standards. Jake completed 4 of his 10 passes. The offense had 2 first downs the entire first half, 38 net yards of offense. Pressure really rattled him in the pocket. They pulled him from the game. Now, as Darren Rizzi pointed out, and as I think fans should be cognizant of when they're taking this Haener performance in as a whole, there were some plays that got called back. He had a nice 3rd down conversion to Cedric Wilson. His very first throw of the game got called back because of an offensive holding. He threw an absolute dime on a deep crosser to Marquez Valdez-Scantling, which, I mean, knowing what we know about MVS, that might have been a touchdown in the way he runs. Instead, it's a drop pass in the very next play of the game. He makes probably the worst throw of his career when he just threw a jump ball up to Alvin Kamara on 3rd and 4. It's picked off by Mikey Sandersill. So not good. And the Saints benched him at halftime, and now we're kind of really left wondering about what Jake is as a quarterback. So, I don't know. Take it away from there, Ron.
Yeah, I worry about his confidence. I mean, I know we've talked about his moxie, but when you have an outing like that, I mean, just kind of looking at you could tell he was obviously disappointed in how he played, and I'm just going to be curious to see how he bounces back if he gets another chance or when he gets another chance, because that's going to be really big for him. And I also think Rizzi should get some credit for making that move, because you think back to Dennis Allen days. Like, I don't know if Dennis Allen would have made the move. I think he would have just, kind of been stubborn and kind of stuck to the guy that he announced as the starter. So I do think Rizzi deserves some credit for that. But, yeah, I'm concerned about Haener's confidence now.
Yeah, it may be. I mean, is he going to get another chance? Right. I mean, that was his big opportunity, and that's going to be what people remember about him at the end of the year. It's first start. He's benched halfway into it.
I think someone said something the other day that I thought was interesting, that when you have that week to prepare, there's also a downside in that you're thinking about it the whole time, and you do tend. I mean, I just felt like he played very poorly. I mean, we've seen him play much better than that when he actually has played. So I'm not ready to write him off after one half that he played poorly. Just like I'm not ready to anoint Spencer Rattler after a half. I mean, I've seen the opposite in the other games. So I think we don't need to jump to conclusions here after one game. I've seen him play better, but what they said, which I thought was interesting, is Spencer Rattler also did not perform well when he had a week leading up to starting. He didn't start well, and I think got benched, right? Got taken out.
In the Chargers game.
Right.
Chargers.
So, we've seen that happen before. I don't know, maybe there's something to be said about how they're not maybe setting up these young quarterbacks to have success with the game plan or something like that. I don't know if that's fair, but it has been a case here where none of those guys have really played well in their starts so far.
I think the thing that was most concerning, though, was the way he kind of panicked under pressure.
Yeah, but I hadn't seen that before. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been there. He came in against the Broncos, and they came after him, so did the Chargers, and he responded well. So it just was weird to see him. And I think that's why he was so disappointed. He knew he played poorly. I mean, the best throw I thought he had, he's the one that threw the one to Alvin on the choice route?
Yep.
29-yard game. It was like
his
the
first
one
completion.
play they had in the first half. Yeah, I mean, that was what I think we all expect to see a little more of. That clearly in the middle of the field was open against this defense. We saw Rattler hit MVS on a similar route, on an in route. So that's where they needed to attack, and they were having trouble because of the pressure in the middle. But, yeah, he's definitely not as capable of making things happen when it breaks down. And I think that's one trump card that Rattler has with this offense. Even though they had the starting offensive line, they clearly have pass protection issues up front that I think are probably not solvable.
Yeah, it wasn't Trevor Penning's best game. That's an
Right.
unfortunate setback for him. Unfortunately for Haener, I mean, he asked, what did he have to lose going into the start? And I actually think that kind of hurt him. It was weird because he did look once, to your point, Jeff, he did look a little bit panicked in the pocket, but he also did seem like he was trying to press quite a bit. I mean, you mentioned the interception. That was just a ball that was Haener trying to go, I can make a play here. And I think Haener is very confident, and I think that can hurt his play sometimes. And I actually think that's been like, you've seen that in training camp, you've seen that in the preseason. There is that moxie to him that gets him in trouble sometimes. And, that happens with a young quarterback, but I understand why he was pulled. And, I think it's interesting whether there's 20/20 hindsight with Darren Rizzi. Should he have started him? Should he have not? I still feel okay with that decision overall. I would have started Haener. I mean, I said so on the show last week. I'm not going to knock Rizzi for that.
It's on tape, man. We got documentation.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like a certain bet that we're waiting to pay off.
All right.
Okay.
Hey, I'm going to Clancy's tonight if you want to swing by and pay the bill for me.
I'll wait. These guys all got to be guys all got to be involved.
I'll wait. The Jeff Duncan story. Okay, we're going to take a quick break for a word from our sponsors, and we'll be back with more discussion about the quarterbacks and where the Saints go from here. All right, welcome back. Okay, so Derek Carr's hurt. The Saints have a 2022 fourth-round pick in Jake Haener and a 2023 fifth-round pick in Spencer Rattler backing him up. What?
23 and 24. Did you just mix this up?
Yeah, I did. It is 2024, isn't it? All right, 2023 fourth and Jake Haener, 2024 fifth. Spencer Rattler. Thanks for catching me there.
Yeah, always.
Okay, so two very young quarterbacks, two very inexperienced quarterbacks. It's kind of opposite of the tack the Saints have taken in recent years, where whether it's Teddy Bridgewater, Jameis Winston, Andy Dalton, even Taysom Hill, they've always had an experienced number two ready to take over in case a starter got hurt. And I think a lot of that was a factor of, hey, we've got a good team. If the worst case scenario happens, we need to be prepared. In case of making a playoff run. I don't think a lot of us thought that this year, but still going into this, are you okay with the strategy the Saints took at quarterback this year, with kind of relying on two youngsters instead of having one of those kind of proven backups in place? We'll start with you, Matt.
Absolutely. I mean, let's just look at Jameis. Could Jameis have helped? If you want to knock the Saints, it's really during that 3-game stretch early in the season where maybe a veteran guy could have needed. If you win one of those, maybe your season doesn't fall off the rails the way it does. Like, there is an argument to be made there, but forget that for a second. I just think that this is a roster that desperately needs to find some young players who can excel, and you've got to give them the chance. And if they're going to get that chance, you have to see what they have. And I think that's why they went to Spencer Rattler in the first place instead of Jake Haener, to try and find that upside. And I don't think even if they had a veteran, it would have made ultimately that much of a difference. I mean, Jameis Winston is benched this week. He's not starting. Now they're going to Dorian Robinson-Thompson, who's a younger guy. So I totally get why they did it. It was cheaper, too, given all their salary cap problems. I thought it was a smart approach, and just because it didn't work out doesn't mean it was the wrong move to do.
Yeah, I agree with that. And like I kind of mentioned at the beginning, even if the Saints thought they were going to be competitive within the division this year, I have a hard time believing anybody up at that front office is really looking at this team in August going, we got a Super Bowl contender on our hands. So if they're getting into a situation like they're in now where their quarterback's hurt and, kind of unclear whether he'll be able to go again this year, you're already 5-9. You probably wouldn't be a whole lot better given those 3 games Carr missed. You were 5-5 in the games your starting quarterback actually started and played all the way through. This is like now you're getting a look at, like, can one of these young guys be the future of our franchise here?
And I think you have to consider Carr's track record of being healthy.
Yeah.
I mean,
this is the most games he's ever missed in his career.
Right. I don't think anybody was anticipating him to have 2 separate injuries on a guy that hadn't missed any games really very much at all in his career. So they got unlucky there. And, I don't have any problems with how they handled it. I mean, they had 2 young, promising guys, and they still do. And I think they might have performed a lot better. I'm pretty sure they would have if they had better help around them, and some of those factors were out of people's hands as well.
I think coming to the season, though, I did have some concerns about the backup because we had all these question marks about the offensive line to start the year. So those questions made me wonder, like, is Carr going to be able to, go through 17 games? So looking at it that way, I mean, I think maybe a veteran maybe could have helped. But again, I mean, this team's they've had injuries all across the board, so they probably weren't. This is probably like what they were going to be. Maybe you get one more win and they're, 6-8 instead of 5-9. 5-9, yeah. But other than that, I mean, it's no big deal.
What about this guy? We'll bring him out of retirement, huh? I'm wearing, for those who are listening to the podcast, I'm wearing a Little Bear Teddy hat in honor of Teddy Bridgewater winning a state title with his Northwest High School in Miami.
Miami Northwestern, yeah.
Miami Northwestern.
Where did you go to college?
Kentucky.
Might know.
Oh, yeah, state of Kentucky.
Might know.
Congratulations in order for Teddy Bridgewater. It'd be really interesting to see if he does make a return to the NFL. Okay, let's change gears real quick and talk a little bit about the future. Look, Derek Carr has a $51.5 million cap hit next year, a hair under 51.5. It's called 51.458 for the math nerds out there. That's a big commitment to him. I think, Matt, there's 2 years left on his deal, correct? Next 25 and 26.
Yeah.
So, look, this is a franchise that has a lot of decisions to make about which direction it's going to go, about who's going to lead the team at head coach. Front office is still. Well, we'll see what happens there. Is this a team that can afford to keep a $52 million quarterback on its roster? Are they going to restructure his contract and continue to push his cap hit down the road? Are they going to take a big bite out of it so he can be playing elsewhere next year? So let's kind of run through all the scenarios. If they keep him, $52 million or $51.5 million, which they would more than likely convert some of into signing bonus. And continue to spread his cap hit down the road. If they trade him, I believe it's still something like $21 million that they have to account for in bonus money that's already been kind of prorated out. I think it's going to be very difficult to trade somebody making that kind of a salary. If they decide to cut him, it's just a straight up $51 million cap hit that they eat in dead money. If they designate him a post-June 1st cut, $21.5 million in dead money, $30 million in cap savings, but you don't realize that savings until June 2nd. All right. I think we got all the scenarios covered there. How would you guys approach this? We'll start with you, Matt.
I was hoping I'd be last, so I'd have more time to think about it.
Sorry. This is how it works at making decisions in the NFL. You got to do it.
Yeah, you got to do it.
Fire it from the hip.
It's like Jake Haener in the pocket.
Hey.
I'll get sassy with you like Haener did. No. I would
Make
get
an
rid of
assessment.
him.
Okay,
Yeah.
you get rid of him. Which way?
I would cut him, and I would just eat the money. I'd suck for a year and then try and get a quarterback. I think that's probably I don't think they're going to blow it up, but I think they're at a crossroads here, and I think that's what I would do. I don't think there's going to be a quarterback at 10 for them, which is kind of unfortunate. But I just would maybe draft someone in the third round or something, have a three-way competition between Rattler, Haener, and the rookie, and maybe sign a fourth guy as your veteran and
Wow.
try and start over. I just think that's kind of where this team is.
So you wouldn't do the post June 1 route, which
I just don't think.
I think it does make a lot of sense because that way you'd be pushing more money into 2026 that way.
Yeah.
And you still have to carry the $51.5 million to June 1st, so that kind of hamstrings your ability to build after that anyways. So
Right. I think that second part is a lot more important than, kicking money into 26. I just think I'd have to do the math, but given where the Saints are at salary cap wise, they kind of need that money either gone or, you're only going to save $1.2 million if you cut him pre-June 1, but I just don't know if they can afford to carry $51 million while they have to get onto the cap.
They'd have to do some gymnastics carrying that big. Look, normally when the Saints do all this stuff and they find a way to clear $100 million, $110 million, or whatever, that's by taking the big, huge cap hits like this $51 million that we're talking about and splitting it up and prorating it out and designating $10 million to go in the next year and $20 million to go 2 years from then on. So it's a lot harder to do that when you've got that huge charge. Yeah. Now, they have, I think for 4 straight years, have carried $30+ million in dead cap money every year. So some of that stuff is going to be coming off the books, and maybe that you're able then to eat the big $51 million chunk. But I don't know.
I will say, I think the next head coach should have a huge say in this. If he wants Carr, fine. That, I would kind of let him decide.
You're going to be paying him the money anyways.
Yeah.
So accounting
if he wants it, even if Carr's back, I really don't feel that strongly about this decision one way or another. And I know that's weird because it's a quarterback and that's the most important position. But
we don't have any other real strong options.
Exactly.
That's the other thing.
So what's your stance on it, Dunk?
I'm kind of with Matt. I kind of feel like I'd probably bring him back. You're kind of he probably gives you the best chance to win. You're going to be eating a chunk no matter what. I think the key is not keeping him beyond next year. I think next year you got to move on, and you have to work. Your entire process needs to be about finding who it is after Derek Carr. But you live with him for one more year. And he's the kind of guy, for all of his faults, and as much as unpopular as some fans are with him, he is a good soldier. Like, he's the kind of guy, I think, who would come in and do the job of being like the team leader in a transition period, which is what this is. I think at this stage of his career, he knows he's probably not going to win a Super Bowl. So, like, you could do worse than having him in that transition year. But I think it all comes down to what Matt said, and that is, who's the next head coach, and what's the vision here? Are we going to bring in, like, Mike Vrabel and try and do something big, or are we going to promote Darren Rizzi, reset, and kind of just get through this next year or two? I think no one knows that answer right now, and I think that's where the quarterback decision plays into.
All right, real quick, this is today our Associated Grocers Transactions Wire segment. It is proudly sponsored by Associated Grocers. Join our team and help support the success of local independent retail grocers. Apply today for available positions at Associated Grocers. So this is one of the things that I'm thinking about with this is I am not really a big fan of this year's quarterback class. I think there's really two guys you're looking at maybe with potential first-round grades, maybe Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward. I think both of those guys have some concerning traits. This reminds me of like a little bit better version of like the 2022 draft class where it was like Kenny Pickett and Malik Willis.
No love for Desmond Ridder.
And Desmond Ridder, yeah.
And Sam Howell ring the bell.
But I don't know exactly what the 2026 quarterback class is shaping up to look like. And I think one of the things that you could say is like, okay, let's see what we see out of Rattler these next couple weeks. And if we're ready to move on and we feel the need to rebuild and get the salary cap situation back in order, let's throw the young guy out there. If he really struggles, then we're in a really good position to draft a quarterback in 26. If he looks like the guy, then we're in a good spot, and we've got a young cheap quarterback for 2 more years. So I think there's that to me it feels like the most likely thing here. Even though I agree with you, Jeff, I think Carr's been a lot better than people want to give him credit for here. He's played as about the 13th or 14th best quarterback in the NFL, and he's getting paid like the 17th or 18th best quarterback in the NFL. I think they've definitely gotten what they've paid for in him, and his numbers would probably be up there with a lot of the league leaders, if not for the injuries. But at the same time, I think when you're looking at the long-term outlook of the franchise, that's an answer you have to find at that position.
Yeah, and I know Jeff wrote a column the other day about this team needs an overhaul, and that could be everything. But I'm with Jeff. I think you bring Carr back and just kind of see. But I also think these next 3 weeks are very important with, and I'm just assuming it's Rattler, but if he goes out there and plays really well, I think then you might have to make I think that kind of makes you think about it a little bit more. Maybe you do part ways with Carr and just ride it out with him for that year, and then to see what happens from there.
I'll give you best case scenario. Bring Carr back, start manipulating behind the scenes in every way possible to get the top pick in 2026 and draft Arch Manning. To me, that would be a home run for the fans. It would be your answer long term, and he's going to be a top 5 pick for sure in 2026, assuming he comes out.
Assuming he comes out, and then if you keep Carr, you probably won't have a top 5 pick because that's like the baseline.
He's baseline. You'll probably have like
make your trades, get up there, figure it out. Just figure it out. That's my scenario.
So what they need to do is trade their, let's say they finish number 9 this year, trade their first round pick this year.
Yes.
For a bad team's first next year. Yeah. That way they can package both of those to move up to number one.
Yeah,
because somebody's definitely going to be trading out of number one. Nobody wants a Manning as their quarterback, except for New Orleans. I like what you're thinking, man.
Man, I mean, just to me, that gets people excited. You bring in a new coach; it'll be his second year.
Excited is not the right word for Archie Manning being at the site, man. It would be, I don't know what the word is, but
it'd be incredible.
It would be incredible.
All right, Saints fans. Associated Grocers is hiring if you're looking to join a dedicated team. If you're looking to join a team dedicated to supporting independent retail grocers, apply today. Your future starts here. One of these days, I'll get that ad read done properly. All right, last thing here, guys. We've got 3 games left in the season. The Saints play the Green Bay Packers on Monday night this week. Then they host the Las Vegas Raiders, who are, as Matt alluded to earlier, atrocious. And then they finish the season off with a road game at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Darren Rizzi is 3-2 to this point. His 2 losses have come to 2 very good teams, the Washington Commanders and Los Angeles Rams. They were potentially in position to win both of those games. So how would you evaluate what Darren Rizzi has done so far? We talked about this a little bit after the game on Sunday, but do you think he's earned an opportunity to really have a legitimate chance at this job in the long run?
I think he's earned an opportunity to be considered. I don't think I would do it, though, especially if he finishes 3-4, like by 4-4, I guess.
Yeah, he's going to coach 8 games.
Right. I just think this organization needs kind of a refresh, a restart, and I think to his credit, he's done some of those things in his time there, but I just think it's still too close to the vest, and I worry about with interim coaches whether it's sustainable. I mean, just look at the Raiders this year. I think we would have all said the same things if we were covering Las Vegas last year about what Antonio Pierce looks like, and it's been a disaster this year.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think what he's done has been impressive, very impressive. I mean, he's pushed all the right buttons. Look how much better the defensive line's playing since he made. And that was a difficult decision. He basically fired Todd Grantham midseason and did it in the right way. You know, he made a tough call to bench Haener in Sunday, and that paid off. So he's made a lot of very good moves. I think he's done everything certainly to earn being considered strongly for the job. But I'm with Matt. I think they need to look at the entire landscape. And I'm on record. I mean, I think, and he fits the bill in this way, but I think they need an alpha leader. I don't care as much about offense, defense. That doesn't matter to me. I think they just got to find someone like a Jim Mora, like a Sean Payton that is a big-time presence to take this organization forward. And whether that's somebody outside the box in the college ranks or somebody that's maybe been retired, I don't know who it is, but I'm not sure Rizzi fits that bill to me when I think of that kind of vision. But I definitely think he deserves consideration. And I don't care what happens the rest of the way. Like, I think he's shown enough right now. I mean, do we expect them to go to Green Bay and win with potential backup quarterback in there? I don't think so.
Or even their starter.
Right.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I mean, I think he has done enough he gets interviewed and all that stuff, but I don't know if they stick with him. And I'm interested to see what happens to him if he doesn't get the job, because I don't think does he come back here to be the special teams coordinator? I don't think so.
Probably not.
I mean, there's something else out there for him, but I don't know what, I don't know what else would he do? Like, is somebody going to hire him to be the offensive or defense coordinator? Or is he going to get some head coaching? I don't know, but he's done enough, I think, to show that he could be a head coach in this league, which bodes well for him. It might not be here, but I think he'll get a shot somewhere down the road. I think
he'd maybe be in the market to be a college head coach. I mean, he's done that before. I don't know if he'd want to do that at this stage of his life, maybe. But I mean, I think his star is only, his resume has only been enhanced by what he's done now.
So I'm going to go a little bit different here, just because I don't think New Orleans is going to be a very attractive job. I don't think they're going to get Mike Vrabel. I don't think they're going to get Ben Johnson. Yeah, I don't think they're going to get the hot coaching candidate on the market here. And I think there's a possibility this organization is going to have to go through a tough transition. And I think I've liked what I've seen out of Rizzi getting the most out of a team that is lacking a lot. So yes, they should absolutely open this up, and they will. Like they have to. They have to interview minority candidates. So they will make this a full, complete job search. But like, I don't think I would be like as a Saints fan disappointed if it's Darren Rizzi, especially just because I just like again I just don't think that they're going to have their choice of the premier candidates. Just considering what this organization is going to have to go through. And I like what I've seen out of Rizzi developing young players. I like the way he's pushed the right buttons, just doing this on the fly. So, yeah, I'd be totally cool seeing what he can do when he has the opportunity to put his staff together and all that. I get the stuff about interim coaches and the history of it, but there's also guys who have been interim coaches who didn't get the job and then turned out to be pretty freaking good. Dan Campbell being one of them. So I don't think that's just a label that is just uniform and applies across the board to every coach across the spectrum. I think there's definitely a chance that Darren Rizzi would make for a very good head coach, especially for a team in transition. Okay, let's get out of here because our studio is going to be used for a Christmas party here.
We're going to crash it? Should we crash
we got people setting up. So
we crashed parties before.
We thank you all for listening. If you are listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or whatever, rate us 5 stars, give us a review, comment on the podcast, tell me how much you love Dunk wearing pants today instead of shorts. We love that too. Yeah. Be nice to us. It's a holiday season. We would appreciate it. For Norman Bell, our producer, I am Luke Johnson with Rod Walker, Matthew Paris, and Jeff Duncan. Thank you for listening to the Saints Insider. We'll be back later this week.